Hello everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be doing a ranking of all the new horror movies that I watched in the month of October 2024. Now usually I've only got about 5 or 6 movies to talk about at the end of the month, but here I do have 12. October was a pretty stacked month with it being Halloween season, of course, and I only really ever watch things that I'm interested in these days. I remember back in 2022 I was trying to watch every new release that come out. But I only try and watch things that I'm interested in. However, there was 12 movies that actually caught my eye this month, which is just unbelievable, especially just being in the horror genre. So I did have an interest in all of these going in, but it's not going to be these type of numbers every other month. So even in November, looking at next month, there's only like 3 titles that I can see that I'm really interested in there. But we will see. Sometimes things just come out of nowhere, don't they? So I just want to say before I get into this ranking, I was on a podcast talking about the movie A Nightmare on Elm Street. This is the podcast SP Film Viewers. I'm going to leave the link to that podcast down below. It's about an hour long. I had a great time with Sophie and Paul, and we just talked about the first A Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I watched it a couple of nights before and stuff to be fresh in my head, and I had a blast on there. So I will definitely leave the link down below, guys. Please go and check that out. And also, at the time of this recording, I have not gone on the channel yet, but I am going on it tonight. So whatever time this video goes up, I'll either have done it or will be doing it. However, I'm on another live stream with the channel Twisted Locker with Jenks and Curtis, who are just a great horror YouTube channel. I have so much fun listening to them guys. You know, they've got so much charisma and chemistry, and I can't wait to have a chat with them. And we're doing Stephen King movies. So yes, we're going to be talking a load of Stephen King content on there. So I'll leave the link to that video down below. It is premiering at the minute, but the time you guys see this, it might have gone live. So if you catch this early, you might be able to catch the live stream as well. So I'm going to leave them 2 links down below, and let's get into it. Number 12 is a movie that came to Netflix called Time Cut. Now, I first heard of this about a month ago, and I thought, that sounds exactly like the movie Totally Killer. And my God, it was. Now, I believe this was actually filmed before Totally Killer, according to Sean Chandler, who put it out there on Twitter. How true that is, I don't know, but I don't think he'd tweet that without knowing all of the information. And that is just crazy to me, because how can this movie and Totally Killer come out around within a year of each other, using the exact same concept, but using the virtually same killer mask? I mean, they look so identical. It's insane to me. And basically this sees this young girl go back in time to 2003. Yes, we've had 80s nostalgia now with Stranger Things and stuff. We've had 90s nostalgia with Fear Street. Now we're getting into 2003, and I'm just starting to feel old right there. But this basically sees this girl go back to 2003, and she can prevent her sister's murder. This sister that she never knew. Their parents had these children 20 years apart and stuff. And it's basically that concept of Totally Killer, when in Totally Killer she was going to save her mum, here she's going to save her sister. But I gotta say, this was nowhere near as good as Totally Killer. I had so much more fun with that movie, and I do think it's a fair comparison because it is virtually the same film. But this one just felt like a high school teen drama movie. It didn't even feel like a horror film to me. The kills here were terrible. Like, there's no blood and gore in this movie, whereas Totally Killer had a bit more of that. And I did not like virtually any of these characters whatsoever. I don't think the acting was great from the main protagonist at all. But even the other characters, I mean, I just couldn't take any of them seriously. And I just thought it was a bit of a slog to get through, even though it was only 90 minutes long. I was like, this is not my vibe at all. They are playing pop tunes throughout the movie from that era and stuff, where some of them are good. Like Avril Lavigne's Complicated is constantly played throughout this movie, and even though I like that song, it just feels like when it's placed in this movie a couple of times, it feels like I'm just, you know, this is appealing more to sort of teenage girls, really. That's what it felt like to me. And I just couldn't get into it. And the ending, oh my God, it's one of the worst movie endings I've ever seen. I was just scratching my head going, really? That's what's happening now? No, I'm not talking about the reveal or anything, which was kind of underwhelming. I'm talking about the very kind of last scene. I was like, really? We're going there? So yeah, for me, Time Cut was just nowhere near as good as Totally Killer, and the worst movie on this list, unfortunately. Next up, we have Azrael, and I'd heard a lot of good early reactions for this movie from a couple of YouTubers who went to Fantastic Fest and stuff, where I think this movie premiered there. This is a Shudder original, and it stars Samara Weaving. And it's an interesting concept, where we have this post-apocalyptic world where these people can't really speak, because if they speak, sin will come to get them, or something along them lines. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys now. I didn't really understand what the whole deal with this movie was and this world. I couldn't get my head around it. I was like, why is this happening? And apparently it has something to do with, is it zealots or so? Someone told me the history of it and stuff. I probably should have looked it up before this video, but honestly, I just really didn't care all that much. I was a bit lost with what was going on in this film. But all I know is they don't speak, and it's kind of a silent type of movie with sound effects and stuff going on there. There's hardly any dialogue, apart from one character in this film. And it was just basically this woman who has been captured, and she is going to, in Samara Weaving, she's going to be sort of sacrificed to these people who live in the woods, and she escapes, and then it just becomes a chase movie where these people are trying to hunt her down. I will say, some of these weird creatures that live in the woods looked cool. They look quite creepy. And some of the kills in this film were fantastic. Like, there's a lot of blood and gore here. And if you're a gorehound, you might get something out of that. Some brutality here. Samara Weaving kicks ass. And it wouldn't be Samara Weaving without all the blood all over her face now, would it? We see plenty of shots of that. But honestly, I just found the film really dull and boring and depressing. Like, post-apocalyptic worlds aren't my favourite setting. I mean, once they're done right, they can be brilliant, like The Last of Us and stuff. But for me, I just felt really down in the dumps watching this, and it just didn't really work for me. Samara Weaving was great with what she could work with. I mean, she doesn't speak and stuff, but what she does and kicks ass, she's great. She's always great. But overall, pretty lifeless experience for me, this, guys. Didn't really like it too much. So that is Azrael. Next up, we have Stream, another one I'd heard a lot of great things about. This sees this family going to stay in this holiday hotel, and when they are there, some killers come and try and take out all the people who are staying in this hotel, because it's basically a live stream event where sickos tune in and watch these people be killed and sort of bet on it and stuff like that. Now, there was some really good gore in here, like some really cool practical effects, which I appreciated. Some of the killer costumes looked awesome and stuff, but I absolutely thought the acting was terrible. Like, this family, I just did not care about whatsoever. The young kid was an okay actor. He was about the best. No, I'll exclude him from that. But the dad and this young female protagonist, my God, man, I just could not stand watching them. The dialogue, the line delivery, it just felt so off and cheesy, and it really took me out the film. The villain was laughable, this comic book villain who's controlling all of this. And there are some horror legends in there. You know, Tony Todd, you know, Daniel Harris and stuff. But they just feel like they're there for a paycheck. I mean, no one was really committing to it, apart from the father and the female protagonist and the young kid of the family. But really, I just didn't really care about them at all. And it just felt like a tired and used concept. It felt like Hostel, but in a hotel, really, if that makes sense. And by the end of it, after this 2-hour slog, which needed to be 90 minutes, I was like, yeah, I'm done. This movie just didn't really do much for me. But it gets a little bit higher on this list because of the cool practical effects and gore, I suppose. So that is Stream. Now, these movies I really enjoyed, okay? These are a little bit of a step up, and some of them are really close to each other in this ranking. But up next, in ninth place, we do have Daddy's Head. And this is another one I'd heard a lot of great things about from the Fantastic Fest YouTubers who were giving their reactions and stuff. And I gotta say, this was really interesting. This sees this family of three who you got the dad, his son, and the son's stepmom, so his new girlfriend, if you like, or his new wife. And the father of this family dies in a car crash or something, and it's left with the child and his stepmom, who they don't really know each other all that well. I think they've only known each other for a couple of years when his father got in a relationship with this woman and stuff. And they don't really, there's not really too much there that they got in common and stuff like that. But she is left to look after them in this huge house with this huge backwoods and stuff like that. And they're basically grieving. They're trying to get on every day in life. And it does feel a little bit depressing and dull, just watching this family grieve and stuff. But what I will say is it really does get interesting when this demon seems to enter the house and befriend the son of this family using his dad's face. Now, that is a creepy concept right there. But when the movie utilizes this concept, it is really freaky to watch at times. And this son obviously thinks that his dad has come into the house and he's not dead. So he wants to basically sort of go towards this demon while the mother is basically not herself, and she's got to sort of protect what is going on here with this kid when she sort of finally realizes what is going on and stuff like that. But what I will say is the creature design on this thing was awesome. When they utilized the father's face is awesome, and it is a really unnerving film at times. Now, this might be a little bit too slow for people. It does take its time, but I appreciated the build-up. When some of these movies behind, like Scream and Azrael, kind of dragged, this one didn't, even though it felt like it was a slower-paced movie. It was more interesting. And you kind of dig into the family dynamic of which way is this going to go? Are these going to get along? Are they going to be pulled apart? And this demon is just in there to rip things up, basically, and make it even worse. So I was always interested towards the end where this was going to go and stuff, and it was satisfying enough. It's a good movie with some creepy elements thrown in there. So that is Daddy's Head. Okay, guys, next up might be more of a thriller-type drama movie, but I gotta say, the guy who was the serial killer in this movie was quite horrifying to me, so I just thought I'd include it anyway. And that is Woman of the Hour, that came to Netflix. Now, this one really wasn't on my radar, but I heard a few people starting to talk about it, and my mum texted me and went, look, this film's really good, you should check it out. And sometimes when she recommends films, my mum, I do, because she has sometimes got good taste. And this is a true life story about this woman who went on a dating show. It's kind of like Blind Date here in the UK. I forgot the name of the show in the movie. But she has to pick from 3 contestants that she can't see just by talking to them from like a thing, like a bit of something that's cut off where she can't see them, basically. And this character, played by Donny Zavato, who is this active serial killer, goes on this blind date show and sort of pushes his luck a little bit, and basically is just in the public eye while the police are looking everywhere for him. They don't think they know what he looks like, but they're after this guy because he's committing murders to these women all across the country, basically. And he goes on this show, and Anna Kendrick, who plays this young woman, who also directed this movie, I believe, is sort of his new victim in his eyes. And whilst I wouldn't say there's anything special in the directing department from Anna Kendrick, she does make the movie nicely paced, and I was always engaged. There's some really tense moments in this film, especially when these women are basically about to be butchered, or he's got it in his mind to do something to them. There's one scene in a parking lot where Anna Kendrick is sort of trying to get away from him, and I was like, holy shit, what is going to happen here? I really feel bad for this woman. She is in so much danger. And this Donny Zavato actor who plays this guy, my God, man, he was horrifying in this movie. He is a real dangerous criminal, a real dangerous serial killer, and you really felt for these women when he had them in his grasp. Basically, he takes them, he pretends he's going to be this photographer, and he needs these girls for a photo shoot. So he'll just meet them on the street and go, "Oh, you will be really great for my photo shoot." He kind of takes them into the outback, starts photographing, doing a photography session, and then proceeds to kill them, basically. But man, when he changes his personality from this friendly guy to this downright serial killer in a flick of a switch, you can see it in his eyes. It's a great performance. But overall, the movie does just feel like a very simple film. Nothing too special. It's there to just tell the story, basically. And when you hear about what he's actually done in real life, at the end where they say what he was responsible for, I love it when movies do that, by the way. You can't help but look the guy up on Wikipedia and stuff after the movie. So yeah, it's a pretty good true crime movie, and one that you quite can't believe happened. So that is Woman of the Hour. Now I'm going to be cheating a little bit here, guys, with this next pick, because this actually did come out at the end of September, but I only found out about it in October. So yeah, I'm just going to throw it in here so I can talk about it. But that is Apartment 7A. Now, this is actually a prequel to the classic horror from 1968, Rosemary's Baby. And I thought that might be interesting. I love Rosemary's Baby. It's in my top 30 horror movies of all time. I thought, let's just see what this movie can do. And it sees a character from Rosemary's Baby in this movie, played by Julia Garner, who we see the origins of her story, really, and what happened to her in this apartment before Mia Farrow's character, Rosemary, came into the fray. So it all takes place just before that movie, basically. And Julia Garner, I've got to say, played a great character in this. I thought she was a great actress. I really got behind her. And she is obsessed with becoming this dancer, and she will do anything she can to get to the top. But she suffers this injury, and she's trying to rush herself back to be in contention with these great plays that are coming on and stuff, so she can be part of it. And the cast of vets who are in this movie, who are obviously in the original film, sort of take it in a little bit there and give her own apartments and stuff, because they feel really bad for her, basically. And they're just being over friendly to her and stuff like that. And basically, you kind of know how the story goes. Now, this is a prequel, but I gotta say, this is more of a remake that just isn't as good as Rosemary's Baby. However, it is definitely watchable. I think it's visually stunning. They done so well to take it back to the 60s here and recreate that location of the apartment of Rosemary's Baby. And, the characters all felt like they fit in that world. You just kind of knew where it was all going. Once you thought to yourself, this feels like the same story. Now, apart from the dancing school aspect of it that Julia Garner was kind of obsessed with, that's the only real thing that's thrown in here. You've seen this story play out before. And I've seen a lot of people say they love Diane Wiest's performance, who you remember as Sam and Michael's mum in The Lost Boys. I could not stand her character in this movie, and I think she's a great actress. But her voice and some of the dialogue she was coming out with in this film as one of the castavettes was just so grating to me that she really took me out the movie at times. And a lot of people said she's the best thing about the movie. Definitely not for me. I totally disagree with that. But overall, this was a very easy watch. And you can tell the director, I forgot her name, Natalie something, is it? Natalie Jenkins, is it? Really sorry if I'm butchering that name. You can tell she is a massive fan of the original film. So she definitely wanted to do something with this story and this world. And it's a pretty decent effort. I just think it's a little bit too similar. But it's fine. It's an easy watch. So that is Apartment 7A. Next up, we do have Salem's Lot. Now, I can see this movie being the most divisive film on this list because so many people love the original miniseries. And I am not really one of them people. I think it's fine. It's just a little bit too slow paced for me. And it just feels like a little bit of a slog with great moments in between. Understandably, because it is in a two-parter sort of miniseries there. like the movie It, which I love, by the way. But this one, I think I just seen it too late in life. And this one, I may prefer ever so slightly. And some people will say that's blasphemy. Fair enough. But we all see things at different stages in our lives, don't we? I mean, some people prefer the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't. I prefer the original. But whoever says they prefer the remake, it doesn't mean they're wrong. They're wrong. It doesn't mean they're right. We all have opinions. And for me, I might just prefer this very, very much so slightly. I give this 3.5 stars on Letterboxd. I give the original 3 stars. So it's not that much in it. But this one just seems a little bit better paced for me personally. And I liked a few more of the characters in this one. But I think they've done a great job of getting the whole town to look like a really nice small town feel to it, like a lot of Stephen King movies do. Been watching a few of them this month, guys. Fucking hell. There's so many movies that take place in the whole small town feel. This weird guy who's come to the town and things start to seem a little bit different. The concept of a vampire devouring this town and sort of taking over it is terrifying. It's a great little story. And for me, I like the whole build up in this. I really got on board with the 2 main characters and the whole romantic side of them, what was going on there. And it was just a nice, easy watch to get along with. However, in the 3rd act, it does feel like a little bit too much action orientated and goes down the Stranger Things route a little bit there. Has a very similar feel to that. And I wouldn't say the vampires in this are as scary as the ones in the original, basically. But it's a fun time. You know, it's one of them. It's an easy watch. It's only like a 2-hour movie where the original is like 3 hours long. So obviously they've got to probably cut a lot of the story out there and just put the important stuff in to make it flow a bit better. And there's probably another cut out there of this movie because I understand there is a lot missing here. Maybe I would like to see that, you know, maybe if we get a Blu-ray, they'll put it on there, you know, the director's cut or whatever, we will see. But if you're a massive fan of the original, I can see you not really liking this one. You are definitely going to prefer the original. But if you're kind of a newcomer to the story, I think you're going to prefer this one. Just my hunch, basically. I really need to give that original another watch. It's been a few years now, and yeah, people love it, so I'm going to have to give it another go. But for now, this one is just slightly better for me. And I love the character of Mark. He's this cool-ass young kid who just takes it to the vampires, basically. But yeah, Salem's Lot, pretty surprising movie. I thought there was nothing down for this, to be honest. And it was in production hell and everything. But we finally got it now, and it's pretty good. So that is Salem's Lot. Coming in 5th place, we do have Mr. Crockett, which I was really excited for, actually. I loved the concept of this, and when I went to look for it on Disney Plus, it was really hard to find. I was like, where is this damn movie? Have we not got it again? And then there it was, just kind of lingering in the background there. I don't think Disney done very well to promote this at all, but I thought this was pretty good. Now, this concept is awesome. Basically, there's an old videotape of this kids show called Mr. Crockett, which is kind of like Barney and Friends, but, you know, I believe it's all done in the style of that guy from A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Oh, what's the guy? Fred Rogers. It's kind of trying to be that, but this show, when I was watching it, reminded me of Barney and Friends, and instead of Barney, it's this character, Mr. Crockett. And I gotta say, Elvis Nolasco, who played this guy, was fantastic. But anyway, this is all about this VHS, basically, that the kids love to watch, and it's all set in the 90s. And it just mysteriously appears at people's houses. And it's like this Mr. Crockett character who's basically got kids on the show with him, just having fun and stuff like that. And if the parents of the child watching this VHS tape are bad or sort of shout at the kids or whatever like that, or they're a bit out of line, Mr. Crockett will come through the TV and kill the parents and then take the child to his world. Now, for me, that's a really cool concept. It really felt like The Ring mixed with A Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit there. That's the vibe I was kind of getting. And kids are kind of going missing in this neighborhood where the VHS turns up. And it's up to this kid, Major, who is the kid who is the focus of this film, who is taken by Mr. Crockett, his mother, and a couple of other parents go out there and look for a way to get to this world and get their kids back, basically. It's a really interesting concept. Like I said, Elvis Nolasco as Mr. Crockett was awesome. He really felt like a kids' TV presenter here. You know, he just nailed it. And that song on it that he sings was stuck in my head for days. A friend like you is a friend like me. It really just gets stuck in your head. And the third act was quite interesting when we went to this Mr. Crockett's world, and all the sort of characters that you're seeing on the VHS tape are a lot more different when we go to this world. They kind of, it's all puppeteer work, but they kind of look like more vicious and more dangerous, more hellish. So I thought that was interesting. When we actually go to the world that we're watching on the VHS tape, it's all different. And it was a satisfying film. I quite enjoyed this one. I think it could have done a lot more with a bigger budget. They could have exploded this into cinemas and, you know, really advertised it. I hope we get a Mr. Crockett too. I think there's so much potential with this character. Some of the problems I had was the mother of this major character. She wasn't really doing it for me. You know, again, I don't want to mention the acting too much, but I don't think she gave the best performance or whatever. And a couple of the people that she teams up with in this movie and stuff just weren't really doing it for me. Elvis Nolasco is definitely the standout. But overall, it was fine. There was a few low-budget constraints, you could tell a little bit. And it felt like a straight-to-the-video film. But I quite enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend you checking it out if this sounds like something you would be interested in. That is Mr. Crockett. Coming in fourth place, we have Mads. Now, this is probably a movie I will never really watch again, but I appreciate so much the direction of this film. This is all basically made to look like a one-shot movie. And whether it is or not, I don't know. I've heard it might have been 3 shots, which would make sense, because this movie definitely has 3 different stages where we see it from a different character's perspective. But my God, man, I was blown away by the filmmaking here. This was fantastic. So this basically takes off with this guy who's taking a few drugs in his apartment, and then he gets invited to this party, and he gets in his car and goes there. And as he's in the car, this woman, as he comes to a stop, and this woman jumps in the car, who's got like these bandages all over and stuff, and she's acting really freaky and strange. And things just escalate from there. Now, I don't want to say too much more than that regarding the story, where it goes, but I couldn't believe how this movie was made. It was just jaw-dropping to look at. I appreciated it so much, and I was looking for the little cuts and stuff, which I can't help doing with these one-shot movies, but you can't tell. And it's a very chaotic film, especially the first act where this guy's on drugs. You kind of feel like you're on the drugs with him, because he's just acting so weird and strange, and he can't keep still. But the acting from the guy is awesome. For him to do what he did, if it all is in one shot, is phenomenal to me. It is so well set out, so well built, scene by scene. Well, it's not even scene by scene, is it? But the choreograph of the film is so well done. And the way the camera work and stuff is happening. Like, he's following this guy in the car and everything. He's just on point with the camera. It's not just the acting, it's the guy behind the camera. It's phenomenal to look at. It reminded me of another French movie called Athena. I think this movie's French as well, Mads. But it reminded me of another French film, Athena, from a couple of years ago, which had probably the best one-shot take I've seen ever in a movie, which was like the first 20 minutes of that film. And yeah, this one just reminded me of it so much. Now, I know it probably won't be long until people call this a gimmick or whatever it is, because we have to downstep on everything, but I just appreciate it so much. I mean, this must take absolute balls to direct something like this. One wrong move can really throw it off, and it's just jaw-dropping to look at. It really is. Now, when we get into the second act, the acting from this woman was unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe how good she was. One of the best performances of the year. And this was my favourite part of the film, where this woman was just, as the scene goes on, she's kind of deteriorating a little bit, and not deteriorating, but she's you can tell she's losing her mind a little bit. And for that actress, I'm going to butcher the name of her, try and get it. For her to start off at one point and then end up in another was phenomenal to me. And the third act was pretty good too, but it's all in that middle section where I loved the movie the most. And it was quite unnerving at times. You know, there's people on the tail of these characters and stuff, and you're just like, holy shit, man, feels so dangerous. And it's all happening in the middle of the night in this little town. However, I was a bit underwhelmed with the ending. And my biggest problem with these one-shot take movies is the story at times, because we're just getting from A to B, really. And there is not much story in there. I felt the same way with 1917, where it was a great movie, but the story was sacrificed for this one-shot stuff. People may disagree with that, and that is fine. So, yeah, if you just want something amazing to watch and to look at, give this one a go. But don't go in there expecting a huge, great story or anything like that. But I appreciate this film so damn much. It was awesome. That is Mads. Next up, we have VHS Beyond. And I gotta say, guys, these next 3 films will be in the review playlist that I leave down below. My 2024 movie review playlist. So if you want to check out my full thoughts on them, please do. This one is an anthology film that we get every year. We always get a VHS movie, don't we? And the problem is with these anthology films, some of the stories work, some of them don't. However, I was massively surprised by this one, because the first 4 stories I loved. I enjoyed every single one of them. I thought, are we going to hit a home run here with the 5th and 6th story? And the 6th story, whilst it takes place in between these anthology stories, it's not really a fully flushed out story. I didn't care for that at all. And the 5th story as well, I didn't like it whatsoever. And I believe that one was directed by Mike Flanagan's wife, the 5th one. I'm really sorry, I forgot her name. But the first 4 stories are awesome. One of them is like a first-person shooter where they go into a house and all these zombies are coming out from everywhere and there's chainsaws involved and everything. I thought that was great. The second one is about this pop star. There might be something sinister behind this pop star and stuff, as we later find out. The third one was definitely my favourite story, where it all takes place. These characters on a plane are about to parachute out of a plane, a skydiving event for this guy's birthday. And man, that was just, I don't want to say too much more than that, but I was like, where's this going? That was fantastic. Probably my favourite VHS story out of all the ones I've seen, to be honest. And the 4th one was really cool as well. It's like this really sweet woman who is a carer for dogs, and she invites these people into a house, and yeah, there's something going on in that house, put it that way. The 5th one was kind of just like this woman following a UFO in the desert. It didn't really work for me. And the 6th one, it's barely even a story, basically. But probably my favourite VHS that I've watched so far. I haven't seen them all. I've only seen about 3 or 4 of these, but this was probably my favourite one. And I definitely recommend checking it out if you want some cool little horror stories. And it really wanted me to pick up my, like after I watched it, I wanted to pick up my pen and start writing some horror down. So I used to write a lot when I was a kid and stuff, and I've really always wanted to get back into it. And this movie was like, go on, pick that pen up. So maybe that's something I'll get back into soon, but that's just a personal little view I see. But yeah, VHS Beyond was great. It's all trying to be sci-fi horror, this one, and it does that for the most part, apart from that woman with the dogs. That just felt like it didn't fit, but it was still an awesome segment. So that is VHS Beyond. Next up, we have Smile 2, directed by Parker Finn, who brought us the first Smile just a couple of years ago, and that was a real surprise for me that year. I've heard a lot of people say they didn't like that film, but I've also heard a lot of people say they do. It's kind of a mixed movie, but man, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a really cool concept, even though it follows a little bit, but makes enough to make it its own movie with all the people smiling and stuff. Really creepy people there with them big smiles on their face. But this one, I thought, do we need this? Because that made a little bit of money, the studio just pushing this guy to make another one. And I seen the trailer and I thought, okay, it looks okay, I'll give it a go. But I was quite surprised once again by this movie, especially with the direction of Parker Finn. Like, there's so many great segments in this movie that he directs. He utilizes the camera so damn well. I mean, he is such a great director, such a great upcoming director. I don't think he's made too much. He's kind of making a name for himself now. The opening scene of this might be the best opening scene of any movie this year. I was like, holy shit, man, this is awesome. And it only went on from there. Some really creepy segments in this movie, especially in an apartment where it's all choreographed with these people smiling in the main character's apartment and stuff. I mean, there's some really creepy shit going on here. And there's even a scene which is very simple of these two characters arguing back and forth in a car. And he basically just switches the camera left and right. Very, very simple technique, but it just works. It feels like you're right in the middle of that conversation. So I thought he directed this movie so well. A step up in directing quality from the first film. But Naomi Scott is the real star of this movie here, I gotta say. She plays this character who's like this pop star. She's kind of like Taylor Swift level. Everyone loves her and stuff. And she's had a little bit of a hiatus in her career because she went off the downtrodden path and got into alcoholism and stuff like that. But she's making this comeback tour and she's really got to stick to her principles now, avoid the alcohol and stuff, and just focus on her career. And unbeknownst to her, this smile demon type thing from the first movie comes into her life and basically derails her once again. And she's all in the public eye, which makes this movie a little bit more interesting than the first because everyone is watching her. Everyone's watching her every move. There's paparazzi everywhere and stuff. And when you're seeing her lose her mind in this movie, you feel quite bad for her. But man, you can only imagine what it would be like for all her fans and stuff and the news, just having a field day to say what is going on with this famous person in the world. But I thought she was just fantastic. She really portrayed someone who was losing their grip on reality. You know, you kind of go along for the ride with her. And Parker Finn does very well to sort of pull the rug under you at times, and you kind of don't know what's real or not. Now, I've heard a few people say that's a problem with the movie, but for me, it worked because it feels like you are in the same mind as Naomi Scott's character here. You feel like this smile demon may have sort of come into your mind a little bit because you're like, holy shit, what's going on there? What's going on there? And then you think you know something and then you don't. It really does throw you off. And to see this character, you know, day by day deteriorate it's horrifying. It's a really great horror film, a really great sequel. And do I prefer this to the first one? I said no at first, but more I think about it, I may do. My only problem is it doesn't bring too much to the lore and the world of this. It's basically a rehash of the first movie, just with better directing, a better performance, and a bit more of a grisly violence and kills sort of scenes in there because it doesn't hold back with the practical effects and stuff like that. So overall, this is a pretty solid sequel and one that really surprised me once again, like the first film. So that is Smile 2. Coming in first place, though, is a movie I was highly anticipating, and it's been one of the success stories of the year, not just in horror, but in movies in general. And that is Terrifier 3. This is probably my favourite movie out of all three of these now. I've done a ranking as well, guys. If you want to check that out, I'll leave that down below. But, man, I was so happy to see Art the Clown come back, and especially in the cinema. We never got Terrifier 2 in the cinemas here in the UK. So once this one and the listings came out at my local Odeon, I booked the damn thing straight away. And this was such a fun time. I believe this movie only had 2 million budget and it's made over 50 million. So that's why it's a success story. And I am so happy for Damien Leone and the team for basically becoming a success story. This one sees Art the Clown returning to Miles County 5 years later after the aftermath of the second film and sort of hunt down Lauren Blair again, basically. And he has got the power of Christmas in this movie to sort of dabble in and sort of make his creative kills come to life in the theme of Christmas time, basically. So what I mean by that, you're seeing Art the Clown in a Santa suit at times, slicing people left, right, and center. I mean, this movie just goes for it. No holds barred. There are no morals. This movie just is there to fuck people up and see Art the Clown doing his thing. And I gotta say, David Howard Thornton, man, he brought so much more to the character here. I mean, I think he's an absolute talent. He's a mime artist in real life, of course, but Art the Clown was at his best here. What I love about this character is he doesn't speak, but he's got so much personality because he sort of mimics what he's saying, or he'll pull faces. And man, he's just such a fun person to be around, but he's so unhinged. You don't know when he's going to snap. Like, one minute you're laughing, next minute you're like, holy shit, what's he doing now? There's a scene where he meets Father Christmas in a bar, and he's sitting on his lap and stuff. He's so happy to meet Santa, and my God, man, that scene is exactly what I'm talking about, where it can all just be switched. You don't know what's going to happen. He is so unpredictable. I think this movie done well to bring more of the story aspects into it, where Terrifier 1 and Terrifier 2 are starting to make a little bit more sense now, and that is only going to carry on in Terrifier 4, I can see. And Damien Leone, with the practical effects and everything here, was spot on once again. I mean, that guy deserves to, after Terrifier, get another big property. I think he's said that he wants Friday the 13th and stuff. I would love to see him do that. He is another one, like Parker Finn, who is a massive upcoming director in the horror genre now, and he's really made a name for himself. Lauren Rivera, again, as our main protagonist, was awesome. I love her as an actress now. I'd love to see her in more going forward. I can only see this opening more opportunities for her. But what I loved about this movie the most was the Christmas theme. I mean, putting Art in that joyful setting when he's such a horrifying character, it just worked. It just went together so well. Two very contrasted things coming together in the middle and working so well together. So yeah, I loved this movie, guys. Can't wait to pick it up on 4K and watch it again. And I felt like I was watching slasher history unfold in front of my eyes, because this is going to be an annual watch for so many people, with it being a Christmas themed movie. And that shower scene, man, yeah. It's true what you've heard. It's brutal. So in first place, it's Terrifier 3. Okay, guys, hope you all enjoyed this monthly ranking for October. If you want more of these monthly rankings, I'll leave them in the playlist down below, alongside some movie rankings where you can find Terrifier 3. The Terrifier movies ranked, and my 2024 horror movie reviews. Don't forget to check them videos out, guys, as well. Thank you so much. Let me know what you thought of these films. Was there any that I missed that I should have checked out? Please do let me know, and I'll get back to you all, I promise. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It will really help me out. Thanks so much, guys. You take care. I'll see you all in the next video.